Being swept in the first round by the Boston Celtics. Nets superstar Kevin Durant struggled in this series, and our Stephen A. Smith was on Get Up yesterday to say this about Durant and leadership.
Kevin Durant is one of the greatest players in NBA history, and I consider to be the best player in the world today, regardless of what just happened in this series, even though it was bad. I think exhaustion played the part. I think we're going to learn that he was a bit injured in this series as well. As great as he is as a player, he's that poor as a leader. You're the face of this franchise, and you've been deferential because you're deferring to your boy Kyrie. That's your man. He's incredibly loyal and what have you. You have to step up as a leader and show that you are truly deserving of being the face of a franchise by holding people accountable.
Jalen, your thoughts on Stephen A's comments?
First off, and I tell Stephen A this all of the time, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player in the league, number one. Number two, there are some accuracies there, and here's why. Because, and I saw you, Zach, earlier talking about leadership, and Steph Curry was used as an example. Remember at the beginning of this year, Andrew Wiggins was not vaccinated. And sometimes you got to do something you never didn't want to do to get something you never had. And he chose to get vaccinated. Don't think he wasn't pressured by his teammates. And you know how he got rewarded? He was starting in this year's All-Star game for the first time in his career. That was his reward. And I want to quote the great American philosopher Ricky Rose about this one. When you a hustler, you do anything to win, especially when you're a part of a team dynamic, even if that means a sacrifice like getting vaccinated. When he chose not to do that, he told everybody it became a distraction, not only for the team, but for him, but for KD. James Harden led to Harden being traded, didn't give their team a true chance to be higher in the standings. So now all of a sudden, the fatigue that Stephen A talks about will set in. You know why? Because on March 23rd, you got to scramble to try to make the playoffs. And now every game means something. And since that date, Kyrie Irving and KD were first and second in the NBA in minutes played. And one other point I want to make. There were 16 teams that made the playoffs this year. The Nets are the only one that didn't win a game. When Kyrie played with LeBron, he didn't have to be the leader. When KD went to the Warriors, he said one of the things he wanted to do was be a part of a team that played together, moved the ball, and he was happy that he didn't have to be the leader. Well, in Brooklyn, that's not the case. They will be required to show a level of leadership that they haven't had to show in their careers, and this year they clearly came up vastly short as they're eliminated in the playoffs via sweep.
I mean, a lot of interesting points, obviously, there, but I mean, the one that stood out to me, does more leadership from Kevin Durant convince Kyrie Irving to get vaccinated? I mean, is it fair to expect that?
It's impossible to speculate, but I don't know that Andrew Wiggins and Kyrie Irving can be compared in that sense in terms of how reachable they are. I mean, I'm sure the Nets tried maybe not the same methods as the Warriors did, but it's a good point. It's a fair point. I just don't know that they're comparable and how reachable they are in that particular sense.
You know, after the game the other